7 husbands, 7 deaths. Each one murdered before he could even touch his bride. The killer? Not a man, not a beast, but something older, jealous, and hidden in plain sight. His name is Asmodeus, and once he chooses you, no one else will have you. This is Pantheon Mythology, and this is the horror of Asmodeus. If you too are old, jealous, and like to hide in plain sight, check out Pantheon Apparel, our clothing brand inspired by myths, folklore and legends. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. Link in the description. Before he was a king of hell, he was something worse. Possessive, relentless, obsessed. Asmodeus doesn't just destroy because he wants to hurt. He destroys because he cannot let go. Obsession defines him. Once his focus lands, he circles, waits, tightens. A name becomes hunger. He watches not for advantage, but because he must. He clings, he intrudes, he poisons from need rather than malice, and that need is endless. Other demons rage, Asmodeus lingers. His strength lies in his ability to infiltrate the most sacred spaces of human connection, transforming love into possession and intimacy into torment. Where some demons tear through the world with violence, Asmodeus prefers a slower path. A glance becomes longing. Longing turns to control. Affection begins to suffocate. His presence builds gradually, like rot beneath polished wood. Jealousy blooms without warning. Trust gives way to suspicion. Bonds that once felt unbreakable begin to buckle under invisible pressure. In later grimoirs, Asmodeus emerges as a king of hell, crowned and commanding legions. He offers knowledge, power, and temptation to those who seek him out. Descriptions vary, 3 heads, serpents, fire, but the true horror lies in how he chooses his targets. He appears where desire lives, where people feel safe, where vulnerability opens the door. Asmodeus moves through longing and attachment, reshaping them into tools of isolation. He thrives in love twisted just enough to hurt, in craving sharpened into fear. He steps into the quiet spaces between people and pulls them apart from within. One of the oldest surviving accounts of Asmodeus comes from the Book of Tobit. Sarah is betrothed 7 times. Each time her husband dies before the marriage can be consummated. The pattern becomes so familiar that her family prepares a grave before every wedding. No struggle, no blood, no cause. The text gives no explanation for how the deaths occur, only that they do. The husbands enter the chamber and never return. The absence of detail becomes part of the fear. Asmodeus has chosen her. He removes anyone who approaches, treating each new suitor as an intruder. His interest isn't casual. He stays close, ensuring no connection can form. With every death, the isolation around Sarah grows. Her community begins to turn inward, suspecting her, fearing her. She carries the weight of grief and shame, surrounded by those who believe she carries a curse. The presence behind it is never seen. It leaves no wounds, no warnings, no voice, but its influence shapes everything. Asmodeus creates distance, distrust, and fear, using love itself as the battlefield. What should bring unity instead brings separation. The cycle continues until the arrival of Tobiah. He travels with a stranger who later reveals himself as the Archangel Raphael. Under his guidance, Tobiah follows a ritual. Burn the heart and liver of a fish beside the marriage bed. The smoke fills the space where Asmodeus lingers. His hold breaks. He retreats, forced away from what he claimed. This version of Asmodeus found in Tobit is already terrifying, but he didn't begin there. His origins reach further back, to ancient Persia, and to a far older force known as Ashma-Deva. In the Zoroastrian religion, Ashma is the spirit of fury, madness, and uncontrolled violence. He shatters order, distorts the mind, and tears through anything meant to bring peace, prayer, ritual, or family. Ashma doesn't persuade, he overwhelms. His presence turns focus into confusion, revenge into rage, and love into destruction. As faiths shifted and civilizations collided, Ashma didn't vanish. He changed shape. His name passed through languages: Ashma, Ashmedai, Asmode, Asmodeus, each step narrowing his form. His violent energy became more precise, more directed. The frenzy remained, but now it carried intention. The raw force of Ashma sharpened into obsession. When Asmodeus enters later texts, he no longer lashes out blindly. He waits, watches, targets. He leaves temples standing. Instead, he waits at the edge of the marriage bed. You won't hear him in battle. You won't feel him in silence. The old spirit still burns, but the fire now spreads inward, through fixation, attachment, and control. Asmodeus isn't a new creation. He's the same ancient force, carried forward, redefined by fear, and made personal. Few figures are said to have ever confronted Asmodeus directly. According to the Testament of Solomon, King Solomon did more than that. He captured him. In the text, Solomon receives a magical ring engraved with the seal of divine authority. With it, he commands the spirits of the unseen world, binding them one by one to reveal their names, their powers, and their weaknesses. When Asmodeus is summoned, he arrives unwilling, restrained by a force older and higher than his own. Under questioning, Asmodeus describes his purpose without hesitation. He spreads jealousy. He stirs conflict between lovers. He drives wedges into the softest parts of a relationship, encouraging infidelity, suspicion, and emotional decay. He admits to haunting the marriage bed, watching the torment where union should begin, and ensuring that it fails. There's no pleasure in his confession, just clarity and certainty. He does what he is made to do, and he does it well. Solomon assigns him a task. The demon who disrupts is ordered to build. Asmodeus is forced into labor on the construction of the temple, carrying heavy stones and assisting in the creation of space meant to honor the divine. The punishment fits the crime. The destroyer of bonds now supports the foundation of sacred order. It is an act of control, never mercy. Power disguised as purpose. But its submission doesn't soften him. Asmodeus remains dangerous even in chains. He insults Solomon. He mocks the weakness of humans. He warns of the chaos that follows if his restraints slip. And when the ring's protection fades, he escapes. The Testament of Solomon doesn't offer triumph over evil. It presents a fragile balance, a moment where even the most feared demons can be harnessed, but never tamed. Asmodeus isn't cast out or destroyed. He is studied, questioned, used, and released. That's what makes this version so unsettling. It doesn't comfort. It reminds us that power, even when bound, still waits for the seal to weaken. By the time we reach the grimoirs of the Resistance, Asmodeus is fully ascended. In the Ars Goetia, he stands as King of Hell, commanding 72 legions. His presence is not chaotic, but calculated, structured authority wrapped in horror. Summoning him requires ritual precision and unwavering control. He only speaks to those who already belong to him. Only those who seek power with full conviction find themselves in his presence. He appears with 3 heads, a man, a ram, and a bull, each one reflecting part of his dominion: lust, stubborn pride, and brutal strength. A serpent coils at the end of his tail, flames pour from his mouth, and he rides a dragon that moves between realms. Every feature speaks to domination and excess. He arrives as a monarch, not a monster, bringing the weight of his court with him. In the Goetia, Asmodeus reveals secrets, uncovers hidden treasure, and grants influence over forbidden pleasures. His knowledge is vast, his rewards tempting, but control must remain absolute. Hesitation invites consequences. Those who seek him are warned. Mastery over Asmodeus demands clarity of intent, sharpness of mind, and complete self-command. Otherwise, the cost becomes irreversible. Summoners have vanished, unraveled, or achieved everything they wanted, only to realize too late what they had become. Force isn't his weapon, erosion is. He sharpens ambition until it fractures. He turns desire into erosion. His power doesn't shatter, it consumes. Asmodeus survives because the world keeps making space for him. In modern demonology and horror, he no longer needs the ancient name or ritual. He appears in patterns of obsession, addiction, and compulsions turned inward. He no longer haunts bedrooms or hides in grimoirs. He thrives in the everyday collapse of restraint. In contemporary lore, Asmodeus is still linked to lust and domination, but those urges stretch beyond the physical. He becomes a symbol for addiction in all its forms, from compulsive behaviors to toxic relationships, from the hunger for control to the destruction it causes. When a need becomes so consuming it erases judgment, when love turns manipulative, or when ambition corrodes what it once built, Asmodeus lingers just beneath the surface. Occult circles still invoke his name. Whether in ritual magic or darker traditions, his role has shifted from external threat to internal shadow. He isn't banished by belief. He adapts. Horror films, grimoires, and paranormal fiction all preserve his shape, but his real influence lies in what he represents: the slow corrosion of the self from the inside out. Asmodeus no longer needs to be summoned. He's present in every collapse of self-control, every relationship twisted by possessiveness, every moment when desire mutates into self-destruction. He endures, not as a memory of ancient terror, but as a reflection of the parts of us we refuse to face. Asmodeus is terrifying because he doesn't scream. He doesn't knock. He just waits until the door is left open. He gets inside your thoughts. He twists love into possession, lust into addiction, and trust into suspicion. He doesn't need to be summoned, just invited by weakness. Once inside, he lets it decay from the inside out. He lets it rot, quietly, completely. And by the time you notice, he's already part of you.